Well, hello there, and my name is Rory. If you've never been here before, this is Varietal Literature's YouTube page. Varietal Literature's a group of writers from Vancouver. And, what I do on Thursday nights is a write-along stream. Call it litgames. There's a couple of names for it because I'm indecisive. I'm a writer. You know, no budgets. You get to make many, many, many revisions and nobody gets mad. Well, almost nobody. What we do tonight is I write on my little Google Doc here based off prompts that I get from the audience, which will be in the live chat. So if you guys have a YouTube account, join the live chat. I'd be happy to meet you. You can throw ideas in as long as they're not like horribly bigoted or something like that. I'll probably try to work them into the story. And you can write your own stuff based off whatever prompts we come up with and put it in the chat. I'll probably read it aloud. It's really just sort of like a community writing moment. Writing is, you know, generally pretty solitary, so I do like to sometimes write along with everybody. So if you're watching the stream, or if you watch the stream not live, I don't know if that's the case for anybody, but if you watch this stream later, put it down in the comments. I'll read it next time. The whatever you come up with. If you are not watching this live, though, you have one advantage, which is down in the description below, there will be little timestamps. Lets you jump over me talking in the beginning here, introducing stuff. You can just get to the stories we write at the end. Your call. Whatever it is you want. I don't want you watching things you don't want to watch, of course. And if the idea of like sitting here and writing with someone isn't your thing, no worries. The channel has some other stuff you might want to check out. We do a book club on Wednesdays. Not every Wednesday. It depends on if we have a book going. And we, one of the most consistent and popular things we do is on Tuesday nights, I read folk tales and fairy tales. And, yeah. And weird fiction and horror. Sort of older style stories. I put in some sound effects like a radio play. Blah, 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 blah. So, what are we doing tonight? Well, let me explain it. But let me do it with all our appropriate style. All the Americans are probably off eating turkey with their family. So, I expect this to be kind of just me. And I see in the chat, GS. But if you're out there, if you're lurking, I mean, I'm happy to have you. I enjoy company, even silent in the corner company. But what we're doing on Lit Games tonight is coming up with stories for your boss. So I kind of got this idea like 2 or 3 years ago, long before I did the streams. I saw this, it was like a generator for excuses for your boss. And I thought about the idea of like pre-writing stories to tell your boss. Not because I think it would make it effective, but because I think it would be fun to just tell an extremely long and clearly false tale if they ask you why you're late, why a project isn't up, whatever else. And so that's what I'm going to do tonight, because I know it's going to be a quiet night, and something that I thought would be funny. If it's not funny, I'm sorry. I tried. Let's see what GS is saying here. She says, Happy Thanksgiving to our American neighbors. Of course, in Canada, where I'm coming from, we do our Thanksgiving in like October, and it's not even close to as big a deal. GS says, Tales to tell her boss. I had to urgently donate a kidney. The one time I had a legit excuse to be late, slid into the ditch in icy weather. Someone towed me out and I wasn't even late. How lucky is that? So kind of the way I wanted to structure this, it's pretty low structure today because here's actually the real inspiration to do it this week. You may have noticed there was no Fireside Fairy Tale this week. And I was thinking about like should I just come out and tell the story, which I think I probably will do in the end because it's not a particularly shocking story. It's not even that interesting. But I did think about the fact that anytime somebody wants you to explain something, you can lie in ridiculous ways. Like if somebody asks you why you have a black eye, you could just weave a tale of great heroism, right? And to be honest, it's probably more fun. So that's kind of what we're doing. So GS, here's my question to you. What should be the first thing we have to write an excuse for? Like, you know, being late, breaking something, whatever else. I'm just curious what chat wants an excuse for first. And then we can start building this tall tale of incredible goofiness. Also, you'll notice that the music has gone kind of Christmassy. I do like Christmas, but I do know that people get saturated by it. So I try to pick stuff that you probably don't hear anywhere else. Also, I'm a little limited on my rates and stuff. I guess since we were talking about being late, let's just do being late. Okay. Being late. Okay. Being late. So I'm going to start with a classic. You're not going to believe this, but and before I say this, I just want to ask, how familiar are you with sure, Irish myth? Because I know because it's going to come up. GS says, haha, bosses love to hear that intro. I was a boss for a little while there. And I'm going to tell you right now, the first thing you should always do is lie to your boss. Don't deserve your respect. You make money. I was in a position where I was kind of like one of the main workers in my department too, but for people that had a little more of a spread out and organized department, it's barely a job. It's barely a job. Just go ahead and lie. That's what we teach you here. If children are watching, I want you to know, lie to your employer. How familiar are you with Irish myth? Because it's going to be absolutely crucial for you to even grasp why I'm late. I was walking on the sidewalk, and you know how those go. Well, this sidewalk, I like the idea that like you need to establish what a sidewalk is. This sidewalk. By the way, chat, if you're wondering, like, how do I participate in this? You can either write your own excuse, or you can throw in stuff that needs to happen. And, like, sky's the limit here, because this is pretty unstructured in what I'm arranging here. Tall tales. I'll be honest, I am touching on, like, a real form of storytelling here, as much as, like, here's pulling back the curtains. These streams are a little more thought out than it might seem at times. And one of the like core things is like it's got to touch on an actual storytelling style or idea, even if I don't explicitly state what that is, because I'm interested in people learning about that kind of stuff indirectly. Frankly, they're forms that are more useful to just experience. Oh no, my light! I had a loose wire on one of my lights. Come back to me, light. There we go. GS says, oh yes, it's important to give way too many details. This sidewalk was a gray one Let's set it around Christmas or winter, right? It's not Christmas. Not Christmas for everybody, but winter. Equinox. The sidewalk was a gray one with a lot of sandwich boards along the curb, mostly advertising for Christmas sales. No light. Come back. Mostly advertising for Christmas sales. When suddenly a pipe burst right in front of me. Now, that pipe immediately flooded the sidewalk and pushed us all off our feet. But it's cold outside. GS says Grey is the Canadian spelling. Yeah, I was wondering about that. It doesn't like that I'm doing the Canadian spelling. The problem is there is no like Canadian setting because we're kind of like a strange hybrid when it comes to language. We're not truly British English the way that we use language and spell things and whatever here. But we're also not at all American, really. Well, GS says this necessitates a change of clothes. Okay, we'll get a change of clothes in there. Okay, I have a bit of an idea for that. But it's cold outside, you know. Look at the frost on the windows. You gotta really sell it. So this, like, froze immediately. And I started sliding into an alley. I couldn't stop myself. Because my wet clothes froze completely stiff. And I couldn't move. Well, I think you can see where this is going. I ran or slid into a wall and all my clothes shattered off me. I couldn't very well go to work. Naked. But I didn't know what to do. GS says stiff frozen clothes, great image. Yeah. I don't know, have you ever had clothes freeze? Because I've absolutely had clothes like freeze on me. Wait. I like the idea that this is a character saying this and that there's like implied backstory. As you have told me twice now. Just imply that there's a history of showing up to work naked. I couldn't very well go to work naked, as you've told me twice now. So instead, I was looking around for clothes. And that's where I got pretty lucky, as this guy was getting fired. And stormed out in the alley, but he didn't notice me. Just listen for a minute. Because I know this is gonna sound strange. And you remember I said you're not going to believe this. But the dude threw away a bag with a Santa Claus outfit in it. You watch, this will just become a story. Gia says that's the funniest line. Do you mean, you remember I said you're not going to believe this? I do enjoy the comedy of how badly this person is lying. Like, for me, that's a lot of what's making me giggle. Is just the really blatant lies. GS says the leprechaun suit Irish. I have an idea in my head. I'm gonna make it a Santa Claus outfit for now, but you're not far off. That's coming pretty quick. I haven't forgotten about the Irish. Unless somebody has a really solid idea, I think we could do leprechaun. I hadn't really decided on what Irish it was going to involve, because there's a bunch of the good people, as they call them. And if you want to hear about those, Tuesdays at 6:30, watch Fireside Fairy Tales. We do read old Irish myth. Oh, I mean, as you've told me twice before. But the dude threw away a bag with a Santa Claus outfit in it. And beggars can't be choosers, you know? So I put it on. And then... and this is so crazy. This little dude crawls out of a knee-high green door that appears in the wall next to me and looks up and says, Santa, I found you. This dude, he was exactly like a leprechaun. Do you know what leprechauns are? I hope so. Or this is going to sound crazy. As if that's the measure. So the big thing about Tall Tales is continuous escalation, basically. Usually a little more rapid than this, but so think of some escalation means you get more and more towards ideas that would be probably visible if they actually happened and so on. Okay, so we're in the Santa Claus outfit after, again, we're making an excuse for being late to our boss in a crazy tall tale form, if anybody's just logging in. I hope so, or this is going to sound crazy. If he knows what the leprechauns are. This little guy in a green hat just grabs my hand. The teller ramps it up if they don't get enough of a reaction. Yeah, that's basically the idea. I mean, it's a form of storytelling, like I said, where tall tales are like where you build and everything is sort of larger than life and larger than that, and like you keep adding it. This just grabs my hand before I can answer and says that I owe him some debt? Well, look. Then he pulls me into this little door. I wonder what debt he owes. I know what it can be. Pulls me into this little door, and I get jammed. Of course. But then he starts hitting me and saying that I took his pot of gold to fund my Christmas list, and now I owed interest. Now, did Santa leave his suit? So I'd be stuck with his debts? Who's to say? Now I know you're wondering why my face looks unbruised. Well, that's the best part. Because while the leprechaun was attacking me, what is like a healing spirit here that can come and try to save my life? See, there isn't really a lot of like, there's like healing herbs and stuff, but there isn't a lot of like healing spirits in Irish lore, so we might have to reach somewhere else. Or we could bring in Valkyries. Yeah, that seems about right. A fleet of women on flying horses came right up Main Street. Oh, I see. A vote for Ghost of Christmas Present. Okay, I can work that in too. Why not? Flying right up Main Street and said that they were Valkyries sent to defend their general, Santa Claus. Because if you know your history, sir, Santa Claus is Odin. Anyways, they distracted this leprechaun who summoned a massive army of leprechauns. Keep an eye on the news. I'm sure footage is on Twitter or something. By the way, Santa Claus is not Odin under any circumstance. Santa Claus is, I I mean, it comes from places where, like, Odin was, but there is absolutely no one who has ever drawn a line between Odin and Santa Claus. I just want to be clear, I'm being ridiculous. That's not a thing. Which gave the ghost of Christmas present a chance to grease me up with its ghost grease. Chance to grease me up with its ghost grease and get me out of the leprechaun door. Oh, didn't I mention the ghost of Christmas present was there? You know, the one documented Charles Dickens' famous... Wait. Let's not make it Dickens. Let's get it wrong. The internet loves... the internet loves it when you get things wrong. Mark Twain's famous nonfiction tale, A Christmas Carol. So anyways, I was like, hey, Mr. President, I need to get to work because my boss depends. Oh, this has vocals. Well, that's too bad. It's a cool song, but we can't have vocals in the background. That is confusing. Depends on me being... What's the word I'm looking for here? Man, I am like running like every word but the right word. Looks like I'm only going to get through one excuse. Whatever. Like I said, everyone's eating Christmas dinner. I was like, hey... It depends on me being punctual. That's the word I'm looking for. Punctual. To run inefficient... I see, there's GS catching up. To run an efficient and profitable business, especially during the busy season. And so, Mr. President flew me home. Was flying me to work. But I slipped out of his ghost grease, out of his hands, because of the ghost grease. and landed in the dumpster next to a bar that for some reason was just tossing a bunch of its full booze bottles out. Well, that happened to be pretty close to here. That happened to be pretty close to here. So he just did his healing magic. And I ran right here quick as I could. And that's why I'm late in a Santa outfit. And smell like rye. All right. Wow, that got long. GS says, and the camera turns towards the boss, and he's the ghost of Christmas is yet to come. Well, there you go. If you guys need it, there's an excuse for being late. Is it worth it to do another one? I don't know. I mean, like I said, I kind of know that this is going to be a quiet day. Let's do one more. I'll try to be a little more brief about it. Excuse 2. And let's do this, breaking... No. Yeah, next one needs to be in the work environment. I agree. Yeah, why not? Breaking photocopier. Now I know what you're thinking. How does sending a fax end with a fire in the photocopier? Whoop. Man, sending faxes is a thing. Like, I'm from an era that I should know how to send faxes. I don't think I've ever successfully done it. It's got to be... Like, everyone who... Whenever I tell somebody this, they're always like, oh, no, you just... And they list, like, 10 things you have to do. And I swear to God, I've had a person next to me do it who does it daily. Like, be like, okay, do this and do this. And it just doesn't work. Faxes are terrible. And, like, I don't think I'm saying anything too wild here. But every time I say faxes are terrible, there is somebody, some fax stan, who comes out of the woodwork and is like, actually, I really miss faxes. It's the only thing I knew how to do. I love it. We have emails. Like, I don't understand why anybody wants a fax. Put your reasons in the comments below for why this arcane system of beeps and shouting at machines, making shouting machine noises, as it might send you the thing that you want to. Or you get a call later where they're like, it's just a blank sheet. And you're like, I don't know if that was something about the transmission or if I put it in upside down. Oh, I hate faxes. GS says legal documents, but like you can still just send them and print them. There's no reason. Well, and I think Mary will back me up on this. It's important to understand how easily a fire can be set when we are being actively sabotaged by our competitors. Potentially, the entire government. I know that sounds far-fetched, so let me explain my evidence. It is 9:30 a.m. I am, of course, fully engaged with my day, and I decide to take a moment helping Mary do some photocopies, as she was very busy. We didn't even talk. GS says, and you never know if the recipient gets it. Yeah, you're supposed to get like a sheet back, but like, I don't know. When GS has a good one. Any rumors of my coffee spilling into the machine are completely unfounded. Any rumors started around the office. Yes, that's how you spell rumors. Get lost. Started around the office that we talk during work hours about non-work stuff, that I was hanging around the copier, that I wasn't drinking coffee, but was instead drinking a cup of strong liquor that I said it's not alcoholism if it's so close to Christmas. Or even the less nefarious rumor that I then drunkenly spilled all my coffee into the copy machine. Are absurd rumors constructed by, and I know this is going to be hard to believe, actual spies, probably from a mercenary organization, sent to do corporate espionage. Gia says it's festivism. As in this. How do I know this? because I saw them. They knew where all the cameras were. Because they're spies. And they snuck in. Well, Mary was on the phone. So she wasn't looking. And punched me in the head, probably because I'm such a great worker. They know this place would be ruined. If you lost me, or even mistakenly fired me. Also, I'm pretty sure they wanted to start. They wanted to destroy our copier because it's a really good copier. They did some hacking after hitting me, and it just burst into flames. One guy, I swear, had a badge in his jacket that I think said the CIA. Now, I know this is Canada, so it's obviously a pretty big deal. They have active operations here, and I will be phoning CSIS as soon as this routine review is complete. Okay, that's enough nonsense. Ugh. Okay, that's a good end. GS says, just ask Mortimer from accounts. He can back me up. All right. If you're jumping to this section, it's probably because you just want to know the stories we came up with. So, as we discussed in the stream, while this is about excuses for your bosses, it's also playing around with the sort of tall tale format, which is where you persistently escalate until you reach a scenario that couldn't possibly be true, which is a real sort of method in storytelling. We came up with 2 excuses. The first one took a while to get down. And it's for being late. So if next time you're late, give this one a shot. It's all written in like the first person, you telling your own story, so it should be a pretty easy thing to adapt to your own circumstances. You're not going to believe this, but before I say this, I just want to ask, how familiar are you with Irish myth? Because it's going to be absolutely crucial for you to even grasp why I'm late. Anyways, I was walking on the sidewalk, and you know how those go. This sidewalk was a gray one with a lot of sandwich boards along the curb, mostly advertising for Christmas sales, when suddenly a pipe burst right in front of me. Now, you'd think that would be the biggest thing, but that pipe immediately flooded the sidewalk and pushed us all off our feet. But it's cold outside, you know, look at the frost on the windows. So this, water froze immediately, and I started sliding into an alley. I couldn't stop myself because my wet clothes froze completely stiff and I couldn't move. Well, I think you see where this is going. I slid into a wall, and all my clothes, of course, shattered off me. I couldn't very well now go to work naked, as you have, told me twice now. So instead, I was looking around for clothes, and that's where I got pretty lucky, as this guy was getting fired and stormed out into the alley, but he didn't notice me. Just listen for a minute, because I know this is going to sound strange. And you remember I said, you're not going to believe this, but the dude threw a bag with a Santa Claus outfit in it. Beggars can't be choosers, so I put it on. And then, this is so crazy, this little dude crawls out of it like a knee-high green door that appears in the wall next to me and looks up and says, "Santa, I found you." Now, this dude, he was exactly like a leprechaun. Not saying he is a leprechaun, just was exactly like a leprechaun. Do you know what leprechauns are? I hope so. Or this is going to sound crazy. This little guy in a green hat just grabs my hand before I can answer and says that I owe him some debt. Then he pulls me into this little door and I get jammed, of course. But then he starts hitting me and saying that I took his pot of gold to fund my Christmas list. Now, I owed interest. Now, did Santa leave his suit so I'd be stuck with his debts? Who's to say? Now, I know you're wondering why my face looks unbruised. Well, that's the best part, because while the leprechaun was attacking me, a fleet of women on flying horses came right up Main Street and said that they were Valkyries sent to defend their general, Santa Claus. Because if you know your history, sir, Santa Claus is Odin. Anyways, they distracted this leprechaun, who summoned a massive army of leprechauns, of course. And keep an eye on the news. I'm sure footage is on Twitter or something. It was remarkable to see. Which gave the Ghost of Christmas Present a chance to grease me up with its ghost grease and get me out of the leprechaun door. Oh, didn't I mention the Ghost of Christmas Present was there? The one documented in Mark Twain's famous nonfiction tale, A Christmas Carol? So anyways, I was like, "Hey, Mr. President, I need to get to work because my boss depends on me being punctual, as you said, to run an efficient and profitable business, especially during the busy season." So yeah, listen. So Mr. President was flying me to work, but I slipped out of his hands because of the ghost grease and landed in a dumpster right next to a bar that for some reason was tossing a bunch of its full booze bottles out. Well, that happened pretty close to here, so he just did his healing, Mr. President just did his healing magic, and I ran right here quick as I could. And that's why I'm late, covered in cuts, and in a Santa costume that smells like rye. Now, you might need to adjust these details when you use this excuse. Obviously, if you're not in a Santa Claus outfit, you can adjust. He's not going to know who the Valkyries answer to. Okay, excuse 2 was for breaking the photocopier. Now I know what you're thinking. How does sending a fax end with a fire in the photocopier? Well, and I think Mary will back me up on this, it's important to understand how easily a fire can be set, especially when we are actively being sabotaged by our competitors, potentially the entire government. I know that sounds far-fetched, so let me explain my evidence, please. It's 9:30 a.m. I am, of course, fully engaged with my day, and I decide to take a moment helping Mary to do some photocopies as she was very busy. Any rumors started around the office that we talked during work hours about non-work stuff, that I was hanging around the work photocopier, that I wasn't drinking coffee but was instead drinking a cup of strong liquor. I said it's not alcoholism if it's so close to Christmas, it's festivism. Or even the less nefarious rumpus that I then drunkenly spilled all my coffee into the copy machine are absurd rumors constructed by, and I know this is going to sound hard to believe, actual spies, probably from a mercenary group sent to do corporate espionage. How do I know this? Because I saw them. They knew where all the cameras were, so you're not going to find them there, because they are spies. Oh no, I did the thing that the internet hates. And they snuck in while Mary was on the phone, and so she wasn't looking. And then they punched me in the head, probably because I'm such a great worker, and they know this place would be, ruined if you lost me or even mistakenly fired me, especially for things out of my control. Also, I'm pretty sure they wanted to destroy our copier because it is a really good copier. It's one of the best. They did some hacking on the copier after hitting me with their fists, and it burst into flames. I don't know what they did. One guy, I swear, had a badge in his jacket that I think said the CIA. Now, I know this is Canada, so it's obviously a pretty big deal that the CIA has active operations, and I will be phoning CSIS as soon as this routine review is complete. And just ask Mortimer about any of this. Mortimer from Accountants. He can back me up. There you go. So now if you break your photocopier, or you're late for work, we here at the Varietal have you covered. If you want to write your own excuses, and down in the your own tall tales, down in the comments below or anything like that, I'd love to read them. See what they're like next week. But as for me, I did make a promise, and for anybody who's made it this far, there was no Fireside Fairy Tales because I had to go get a test done in a hospital that got super backed up, and I ended up spending 14 and a half hours in that hospital, which was horrible, by the way. But it was why I thought I would be done well before the stream, and I just wasn't. Yeah, there's no other like great grandiose change. I'm fine, by the way. It was truly just a check to like make sure something wasn't wrong, and there wasn't. It just took a very long time. Yeah, that's where I was. GS says no food. Yeah, I had no food. And they did provide water. I found out almost at the end that because I was technically checked in, they would technically have given me some food, but I did not know that, and it was obviously not advertised. Anyways, I'm fine. It was truly just a check. It just took forever because I happened to go at the wrong time. I guess the wrong day. Everyone was very apologetic. I'm not going to name the hospital or anything like that. But that's where I was. So, Fireside Fairy Tales is still on. Still on Tuesdays at 6:30. I think that's the only time I've just straight up missed it in 2 years. So, there you go. I got nothing else really to add. Come back for Fireside Fairy Tales next Tuesday at 6:30. Or if you like this, which, who knows, maybe you did. Then we do this Thursdays at 6:30. Various things, not specifically Tall Tales. And I'm going to try and write some Christmas stories. Well, not Christmas stories necessarily, like winter stories in the month of December. I feel like we don't have enough of them. So I'm going to come up with some ways that we can create new stories. GS says it's your tall tale excuse. Yeah, I don't know if I can do taller than 14 and a half hours in a pleather chair. Anyways, that has been the Varietal Show. My name is Rory. I hope everyone out there enjoyed their turkey who is not watching right now. To the Americans, happy Thanksgiving. And to me, happy weekend. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I gotta go cash out. Get out of my shop.
Into the